Hey everyone, and welcome to Co-Creating with AI. This week I have, as always, my dear co-host with me, Rasmus. How are you today, Rasmus?
I'm good. A bit tired, but lots of fun stuff happening, so can't complain. How are you doing?
Me as well. I love the exploration of this year in AI and everything going on, and also just our everyday work is just amazing to be in as a context for that. And what we're going to talk about today is autonomous AI, but just because that's definitely where we see the future is heading. It's where we are right now, but autonomy, what we see now, is nothing like what autonomy we'll see uh, tomorrow. So maybe you want to start there, Rasmus. What is autonomous AI for you?
Sure. I mean, I think it ties back to one of the earliest conversations we had, which is like boundaries. So I would say um, autonomy is like is almost the size of the boundary. So like it's like degrees of freedom in math. So the more like the more of a wide boundary we can allow something to act in, the more autonomous it is. Um, and I think with AI, that definitely ties into the usage of tools. So now that we're giving these models more and more tools to use, whether it's directly in ChatGPT and the plugin ecosystem they're developing, or it's within this open source projects like AutoGPT and Baby AGI, um, it's really about like, okay, hey, we set the boundaries for you, right? These are my objectives, and this is the first task. Is usually what they start with, and then it can start accomplishing those tasks by a number of tools like browsing, etc. Um, so I think that's sort of what's so interesting about this is it's not that you have to like do every prompt, like do this for me. That's like you can always sense it, right? If you would have someone you're working with and you're like have to tell them everything they have to do, then you wouldn't say that's a very autonomous person that you're working with. So I think that's kind of the key thing and the exciting thing for me. Um, how about you?
Yeah, definitely. I love the title of this podcast. We're co-creating with AI because I really believe of that synergy between human and AI, and I know you do too as well, Rismus. But um, and so what we're saying with autonomous is not like completely detached from co-creating with humans, but at least like work is going on with me without me prompting the AI continuously. And so that for me, that's the most bare bones definition of autonomy, that the AI is doing stuff without me continuously like keeping it working. Like, and it's sort of demeaning from both me and the AI that in the general case what's offered by the standard tools right now is just that, like,
Yeah.
nothing happens if you don't keep poking the AI.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's really like it's such a like if you look at the technical like foundation of these like first generation autonomous frameworks, they're very limited in what they actually like. It's like very small code base, etc. But it really is like a fundamental difference because of what you say. I think um, just the fact that it's actually doing something without you. It's not like that's like a little bit like I have a hammer, that's a tool, right? But it's not gonna hit the nail without me being there. Whereas I don't know. Whereas I guess maybe manufacturing robot would be something that's at least like you set it as a goal and that it does it. But it's I don't know. It's something. And I also think actually the interesting thing here is like if I compare it to the manufacturing robot, is that I will most likely define very strictly what the manufacturing robot will be and do on the assembly line. Whereas in this case, it's a bit different. I give it the tools. You can browse, you can do this, you can spin up sub agents that do things for you, and then I'm not really sure what like in what way it's going to do that. It even writes its own task list. So there's something quite fundamentally different, I think here that's going to be
Mm.
very interesting to explore and like and think about what it will look like in the future. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? Like, what's kind of the aha? moment, like when you think about this, I don't know, in your life or work, or like what's been most exciting about this for you?
I think for me, what is exciting about the sort of self-driving aspect of some of the autonomous AI projects that are um, publicly written a lot about right now, the exciting aspect is that it's fulfilling the greater promise. And I sincerely think that if ChatGPT would have been launched as AutoGPT instead, the public outrage would have been just shutting it down immediately. It would be immediately like really super black headlines about Microsoft is coming to steal our jobs. Like that would be, it would be so scary. And the thing is that it is that scary. Like it is coming to steal our jobs. I think it's only like 2 3 years before AI can replace most knowledge workers, which is like most of my friends and myself. Like, and it will not, that change will not happen rapidly, but the possibility is there for an AI to take most jobs in just 2 years from now, and that is scary and exciting. That fear is also exciting, like getting on a roller coaster. But this is not like it's the entire world getting on a roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean that is I think one of what's quite cool there. I don't know. It sort of doesn't tie directly into what you say, but it's like ChatGPT was like the fastest app to, you know, grow basically. You know, first app to a million users, I think. Fast app to 10 and 100 as well. And I'm not sure about this, but I would almost bet that AutoGPT has been like the fastest growing GitHub project of all times in terms of stars and people using it. I'm not sure, but it's been very, 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 very fast. And so I think it's, and then you're talking about this like this fear slash excitement and around it, and I'm just like, there must be something fundamentally like as humans that we're drawn to in this, because it's like it's so captivating, whether it's ChatGPT or it's AutoGPT. Like, what do you think that is? Like, if we just take the positive frame, what do you think like pulls people in? Because I don't think, I don't know. I would guess most people aren't drawn into it because of, hey, this is going to take my job. I'm scared. I need to look at it. It's like it's something else that we're getting like really excited about. What do you think?
I think it's the excitement of uh, the prospect of basically owning something powerful
Hmm.
or using something powerful, and that like the why do people want faster cars,
Hmm.
or why do they want a bigger boat? I think this is like they want a smarter machine kind of thing, and I listened to Max Tegmark interview by Lex Friedman recently, and he makes this analogy like if the Neanderthals uh, was the species to sort of invent um, a brighter version of themselves. If Neanderthals would have invented Homo sapiens, basically like bioengineered two Homo sapiens babies, would that be advisable for them to do? Knowing, like in hindsight, that Homo sapiens later eradicated Neanderthals from the earth, and uh, that's just an example. He says that basically every species that are no longer needed have been, uh, if not extinct, almost depleted, but in any ecosystem on Earth. But I feel like my fear is not going that far, and I my fear is sort of that uh, like wanting to understand that more powerful mechanism and what, like how can this be useful and be made useful.
And I think that's like where my gut feel is. I mean, maybe it's true. It's like this sense of wow, this is really powerful. I think, and that's probably true as well for me, and I think for, or at least part of it, or another drive, or for a lot of people, it's almost like I feel like if you take a positive imagination of the future, like an optimistic, it's like the kind of post scarcity kind of, you look at the world today, you look at kind of the stuff that's that we have to do and that doesn't work well, etc. You can almost imagine AGI solving, or like AI, like autonomous AI solving a lot of that. Like I think it's almost like this portal, imaginary portal. True or not, we'll see. We can talk about that as well. But to like a very abundant future, where and a very creative future. I mean, if I look at myself, and I think let's get into that as well, like practically, like what can these autonomous agents do now, and or at least will be like able to do soon. But for me, I'm really excited about like the creative output I'm going to be able to have, and also all the stuff I won't have to do that I don't like that I do, but like that I don't really want to do, whether that's part of work or private life. Um,
Just to make a remark there, that I was just thinking about that the promise of autonomous AI is to give us as a user autonomy,
yeah,
right? That, like, I'm looking at this thing, it can obviously be a creative force in my life, so I can have autonomy in the way that I don't have to go and bug other people to create this kind of things for me. I can write code without the coder. I can design things without the designer. I can paint art without having to rely on an artist. It gives me a lot of autonomy in my own creative ways by offering me a new let's say a new agent or a new entity to co-create with.
yeah. I mean, if I take the example of like autonomous cars, which are, you know, likely, I think, within the relative near future, depending on regulation, etc. Right? But and in one sense, they're going to take my. I mean, now my job is not a driver, so I think we can get into kind of the socioeconomic side of this. But if I just take my function as driver in the family, will be, you know, I won't have to do that. Maybe after a while, I won't even be allowed to do that by regulation. And I mean, that could be, I mean, in one sense, I sort of like driving, right? But I'm sure that I'm also going to enjoy being in the car and talking to my family more attentively during that period. And, you know, I can just imagine like cars looking very different and allowing very different activities. You know, you can even imagine it like being, you know, the front seats being faced backwards and you're playing a board game, you know, in the middle of the car,
Mhm.
which will be fun, you know. Or for that case, if I want to say like creative expression, I could sit there painting or like creating something. We could like have an AI storyteller creating like a role playing game for us and showing it on screen. And these things are like not even science fiction; they're very close.
Mm.
I mean, you could, like, we could build that pretty quickly. I think today, like just a role playing game where you have an AI storyteller and it also generates the pictures for you to whatever the scene you're in. Like that's pretty easy to build, I think, to be honest. Probably someone is building it or has already, but
Mm.
yeah. So and just to tie it back, right, to this, what we're talking about, like the autonomous agents, like in the knowledge worker world, and what you said about our own autonomy, like that the car will give me the autonomy to play a board game with my family while driving. I did not have that degree of freedom anymore. So by having more autonomous AI agents, it gives me more autonomy in my life. Just as like, you know, uh, any tool, of course, but like on a much grander scale, I think, because yeah, it sort of extends my own autonomy, right? If the more autonomy it has, the more it extends my sphere of autonomy. I think.
Mm. And on the topic of this not being science fiction, I learned yesterday just that completely autonomous driverless cars is legal in 7 states out of 52 in
Wow.
US. And I learned this from the comments on a YouTube video where people were stuck in a Waymo, a driverless Waymo, and it was going down a road that was blocked by a truck, uh, and um, and there were lots of parked cars on the side, so they couldn't get around. and like in the middle of the road was also a police, like a motorcycle police, and he was trying to direct the autonomous car to swerve into an open parking spot, and getting really angry at the car not following instructions, and two passengers in that car being like, we can't do anything, we can't do anything, there's no driver. And the police was like, sir, swerve over right now, go into that parking spot. And the car was just uh, like trying to move back and forth, not knowing what to do, not
Uh,
understanding the situation at all. And apparently, like this is it's Waymo doing this, and they have one Jaguar self-driving driverless car, and it's completely crazy that, and it just shows that the system absolutely not ready to handle the edge cases of traffic, where a police officer is giving you the instructions, for example. It's not able to handle.
and
And and I mean, what if that could turned into a hostile situation where the police officer took it as just them blatantly refusing to follow his orders? Like it was that really triggers my fear slash excitement.
mm.
Spot on.
Yeah, it really puts like in perspective like the just mindset shift that's going to be necessary across society to like understand this. You know, like there are going to be a lot of people being angry at the artificially like AI customer service reps, and like as if that thing was alive, which I would argue it's not yet. But
Mm. Yeah.
I also think you bring up another interesting point on this, which is the way this is likely to go and develop from the point of view of edge cases. So if we look at where, like, and coming back to autonomy and the size of the square you put the agent in, and that it can act within, it's like I don't know, should be a word for this. Probably is like in degrees of freedom, maybe like how big its area of autonomy is. Um, then right now, what you can do with agents is put them in very small boxes. You can, you give it a very small set of tools, you give it one objective, and it will do okay certain percentage of the times you try it, right? But I've seen like cool examples when you ask it to like plan an event for you and your family, and it really like does a good job. And the more tools it has there, the more autonomous it's going to be within that function, and that will go very, very quickly. However, it will probably be a while until you feel you don't have to double check it. That and that you give it access to your credit card and it does everything for you without you having to approve. Um, and I think that's fine. And if you take that in a work context, we're probably going to have like agents running, like say I'm the marketing manager for a startup. Then all of a sudden I'm going to have my little team of agents that can do part like of my job or like things for me. Like, okay, you are the Twitter generation AI that also goes on Twitter and tries to go for engagement, right? And then we're going to grow that autonomy the more safe we feel, and the more like give it the more tools and the more autonomy to act. Maybe I won't allow it to post the tweets by itself in the beginning or place the comments, but it gives me a task list, to things to do, and then I approve or I don't approve. Um, and I think as well with like, but where I can like either I have to approve or I can take control when I want to. If we go back to this like autonomous driving case, like I would feel much safer in a like for example in a Tesla, right? You can put on the so-called autonomy, like the self-driving aspect of it, but I can also take over at any time. For example, in that example, I don't think you're able to in a Waymo taxi. Um,
No, apparently it's part of terms of service that you're prohibited. You sign a paper saying that I'm not going to interfere. Whatever happens, I'm not going to interfere with the driving.
yeah, which is also like that's a different argument where I think Tesla has a real edge because they really get the data on when driver is needed, like when is a driver needed. So they really get good data on the edge cases, I think. But anyhow, but I think that's generally I think we can like in some case going to be like we start in a small box and then we expand it, and maybe I will have like approval for each thing it does, and then I give it more and more autonomy, as in more it can do more and more things without my approval. And then you have like the other kind of scenarios, which is autonomous, like with autonomous cars, that like the way Tesla does it is like it you give it autonomy, but you can take it back at any time. Like
Yeah.
you're like kind of there to supervise. Maybe they are quite similar actually, but I think that's like, at least for me, a good mental framework for how this is going to develop. Is like I'm going to have, um, yeah, I'm going to be both able to give more and more autonomy and willing to give more and more autonomy, because I'm going to feel safer and safer. And I think that's going to be a process for all
Mm.
of us, like as people, to go along that kind of curve of being comfortable, trusting
Yeah.
agents, right? Um,
The way I see this go is that um, the more involved the AI will be in our lives, the better data it will have as well to make choices or make suggestions for where we will go, and that will come to a point where um, uh, like um, right now the kids growing up, they are internet natives in the terms that the internet was always present in their lives. Imagine kids growing up being AI native, that the AI was always present in their lives. The AI has a complete record of every decision they ever took in their lives. So in many decisions, the AI is going to make really good decisions, especially like if this is 10 years from now.
mm,
The suggestion of the AI is going to be probably in like 99% of the cases exactly what you wanted.
mm,
And so are you going to, like, how will you know then, am I picking this because I trust the AI, or because this is the AI predicting what I wanted? Like how, like
mm,
how much of autonomy will we lose when every decision we make, like what do I pick up, what do I eat for lunch,
mm.
do I drive left or right, do I go to this store or this store, do I pick this job or this job?
Yeah,
Big and small decisions, like when I rely on the AI, am I giving away my autonomy or am I gaining autonomy?
yeah, yeah. And I think that's going to differ from person to person. Like with most things, it's like, I don't know, a computer, you can just sit and mindlessly scroll Instagram or TikTok, right, or a phone. But you can also use it to learn things and to interact with people and to, I don't know, be a part, like a participant and a creative expression. And you can be in a consumption kind of mindset. And we're all in both, right, from different times. But I really think that AI, like on what you say, will supercharge that, so that, I mean, some people will just like it will be like the what's it called? Like it's Wall-E, right? The
Hmm.
movie, like where they're like
Yeah.
the people are on the spaceship and they're just being driven around, watching some screen, eating, right?
Yeah.
That will really be uh, like if I just think from like an awareness point of view, like I will not have to be aware if I have an AI making every decision for me, right? I will not have to be there. I can just be, zoned off. And that, like,
Mm.
that's pretty scary actually. That's probably the scariest thing with AI for me personally, is like a bit of a zombified part, like humanity. Whereas I think that it has the potential for a much more aware humanity. Like, and for me personally, that it takes away a lot of the things that are um, that I have to do, but where I'd like that's not really me, and that I where I can't, like where there's not room for me to participate like in a creative way, and also supercharge and give me abilities where I can be more creative and do more. But it really will be just like with smartphones, I think, and we'll see if this you could argue both ways, but I think it has the potential to be like a hyper smartphone in that sense, that it really like becomes hyper TikTok in like, can be that, and it can be like something
Mm.
super creative as well.
So to bring back to this to a very to a bit more positive, what becomes very possible if we have an AI involved in a lot more everyday decisions is to set the intention for that AI to work towards. I can be very clear to with the AI with what is my intentions, where in what direction do I want to improve, how do I want to eat, what people do I want to spend time with, and do I want to move towards having more free time or more social time, and it can nudge my
Yeah,
decisions in the right direction. So it can help me actually keep an intention, and I can prompt the AI to question my decisions if I am not following the intentions that I've set.
definitely. I think that's a really good point, and I like that. Like it can help me be more of who I want to be and live a life closer to how I want to live my life. Whether it's on the level of habits or relationships or whatever. It's because, I mean, I don't know, this is another topic, but like there's a very strong argument to be made that we as humans are like our bodies are inherently lazy. They want to be energy preserving. And I can definitely sense that in myself at least. And there is a bit of a constant struggle not to like eat that thing or, to go do that work, like, depending on it. Or to watch Instagram and then stop doing it, that breaking away from that,
Mm.
right? There's something in that, and I think that AI can be a real support in like living a more um, alive life in that sense, like in aligned with what we want and how we want to live. So I think that's a really interesting point. If I would bounce like take this back even closer to reality and just like if we look at like where we are now and where we're going, where do you like, do you have any thoughts around like, and I mean this obviously ties into what we're doing at Multiply, right? But do you have any like, where do you think the really like the next steps that we really like, what will be the way that this goes mainstream? ChatGPT really captured the public imagination, and a lot of people, especially
Yeah,
younger people, are using it. Like, in what way do you think this will start affecting like people's lives broadly?
I think that a small step in that direction was the launch of tools. Now, OpenAI hasn't really launched tools; they've announced the upcoming launch, because it's not widely available. However, when the opposite becomes true, that the AI is present and can autonomously drive all our tools, like all our social media and our work tools and our communication devices, or Slack or whatever, then it becomes um, a really big driver for change. And also when we start using it as a collective tool, that uh, um, we see an AI agent as someone. I'm not using it to enhance my own productivity, but when you and me are in a meeting and we are collectively addressing an agent, saying, can you do this, can you take this task, and or maybe not can, but take this task, we will be a bit more affirmative. Then I think that's when that would be signs that big change is coming when that capability arrives.
Yeah, and I also think when it's proactive, you talked about this previously, but it's like when we're in that meeting and it says, "Hey, don't forget this thing from the last meeting,"
Yes.
or "Here are
Yeah.
the key takeaways." When it's that seamless, just as in when it's not like I'm in my tool and I prompt the AI, but the AI is
Mm.
proactive and can, you ask it to do something and then it does it for a while and then it comes back. I think that's going to
Mm.
be, but I agree. I think on the tools side, both in this new interface that are like the AI models themselves, say if ChatGPT continues to be a consumer product, um, and it has tools, I think that's going to be, you ask it to do something and it goes and does it for you for a period of time. I
Mm.
think that's going to be like an early one. And of course, on the other side, implemented in the tools, I think that's what I just said. Like when it's like more proactive, I think will be a big shift. That's quite close at
Yeah.
hand. Um,
Um,
mm,
I've often had this kind of canary bird approach to keeping track of technical development. Like for a long time, I was not repeatedly, but um, like with 6 months apart, I just looked to see if the Beatles were on Spotify yet or were available
Mm,
in streaming, and I actually stopped doing it because their music company was so stubborn.
mm,
I think that the Beatles are still not on
mm,
Spotify, but I haven't checked in many years now. And then when AI agents when chat based AI started popping up, I just asked every new model I could find to just to have a benchmark. I asked them the same question, which is like how many pineapples can fit into a suitcase, and make reasonable assumptions about that. Like and in the that was very like and actually GPT-4 is the first one to reliably get the answer right. Before that, the answer could be anywhere between 2 and 10,000 or like 26,000.
mm,
Like and auto GPT doesn't even get it always right, but GPT-4 does.
mm.
And and what I have sort of as my benchmark for autonomous AI, I think this will take a while, but look forward to the day when I'm in a meeting and an AI sort of interrupts the conversation to say, "Hey guys, I actually think that you are talking about the same thing. You
Mm.
just have different words to describe it, and that's why you're not connecting on this topic." And so that's what I'm looking out for as a technical benchmark on autonomous AI.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I think let's. I mean, maybe we're going to start rounding off there, right? But I think just.
Yes.
I think that like I would love to explore that next time, like what you said, like how AI will help us co-create as multiple people, because right now it's in, yeah, I'd say it's in pretty much every way single player tools, even when it's implemented in multiplayer tools. And I think that's because it's like me giving it an order and it does it, the prompting thing. It's not proactive, it's not autonomous yet,
Mm.
um, in any multiplayer sense. So I think that ties into very like I think let's explore that, like what multiplayer and AI, which will tie into like a favorite topic of ours, like collective intelligence and co-creation as well. But let's save that for another episode, maybe the next one.
Yes. Let's do that. All right. Looking forward to that. And thank you, dear listener, for being with us today. And feel free to get in touch at Martin or Rasmus at multiply.co to talk to us about AI. And this was an episode of Co Creating with AI. See you next time.
See you next time. Thanks, Martin.